Welcome to the Power Lunch. I'm Rhett Power, your host. It's nice to be with you here on this day. Now, the point of the show is to bring you today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, people who are doing amazing work in the world that we can learn from. And today is no exception. I've got a great guest. I'm going to introduce him in just a minute. Now, if you like the program, give it a like or share so your network can benefit from these conversations as well, because we're learning a lot. So your friends, family, and colleagues should learn as well. And we could obviously, it helps us grow our audience. Now, we are simulcasting this. One of the fun parts about this show is that it's interactive, and that can only happen if you ask questions. So if you have questions for the guests, please ask them on any of the platforms. We're simulcasting not only on LinkedIn Live, but we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and probably some others. I'm not sure, but any of those platforms, give us a question. We'll try to get to them on the program. If we don't get to them on the program, we'll certainly get to them after. Now, today I've got Dr. Oleg Konovalov. He is. This is going to be a fun conversation. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about his new book, Leaderology. But he's a thought leader, author, educator. He's been a consultant to the Fortune 500. He's on the Thinkers50 watch list this year. He's a number one. He and I are both number one on the 360 list, but he's a number one for global thought leader. He's author of Corporate Superpower, the Organisational Anatomy, Hidden Russia, and his new book, Leaderology. And he's a fellow Marshall Goldsmith 100 coach. Oleg, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Rhett, it's a great honor to be with you and a great fun. Thank you.
We're going to have a good time. I know you just got off of a big webinar, so I hate to make your day any longer than it is because I know it's getting kind of late there. But I do really appreciate you bearing with me and joining me for lunch.
No, I can't miss this because that's a friend's conversation. You can't miss it.
That's right. Hey, I wanted to ask you, one of the things I'm fascinated a lot by your work in a lot of different areas, but one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what are the different types of organizations? I know you've done a lot of work on organizational development and organizational structure, but what are the different types of organizations that you've identified?
If we talk about archetypes, which I explored,
right.
Look, it's back to Carol Linnaeus, who looked at all the creatures on that earth very differently. Here, the cat is a dog, and they're from different families. One wise cat is good or excellent, climbing the trees, and dog is not. It's something different. We are ever so different as people. We everything is ever so different. But when we're talking about organizations, which we actually create by copying ourselves, we're looking at them as very uniformly. We're talking about a difference in size, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we look at them using, call it multidimensional approach, how different they are in terms of resources utilization, how different they are in terms of satisfying particular customer expectations or type of the value which customer expect, you would start seeing the difference between them. Where's the value created? What's the difference in their business models as such? What they're betting on? And so you immediately recognize there are producers which are craftsmen, right? Very handy people. Then you look at knowledge-dependent people like hospitals, banks, insurance companies. They don't need much resources except their knowledge and what they do and how they call it enhancing this knowledge day by day.
Right.
Then you look at the companies or organizations which are important for our daily comfortable living, call it so, right? Supermarkets, hotels, airlines, those who are bounded by location.
Right.
Even those internet providers, they are limited by their location.
Right.
You don't expect an American company to serve in Brazil as direct, connection.
Right.
Otherwise, through the local operators, or in Russia, or whatever the country. Then we talk about, you see, humans, an incredible part of us is bounded to give. So then we talk about charities, political parties, religious organizations who are donor dependent. They're even more interesting because they got two focal groups of customers, those who are giving and those who are receiving. They're standing in between them, and their job is to increase the value for both, not just be like a transition point.
Right. Right.
So you immediately rethinking their role and how they work with it. And of course, we got state affiliated, or in some countries, state organizations. It depends on the country. All those
Right.
organizations. Then we say, look, we are facing at the moment an incredible stage of organizational evolution. We're having tech companies firmly putting their feet into the organizational landscape. And again, they are different because Microsoft is producer. They're a producer of software or something like that. Then you talk about different platforms which help you to enhance knowledge, like on online courses.
Right.
Location. Yeah, internet shopping is breaking all the boundaries, all the frontiers. Now we are reaching each other very easily, right? So, but it's a huge impact, but it's still organization. It's still a business. When you talk about different missionaries, online missionaries, it's the same, donor dependent. And so when you go to some kind of a state service or government service, it's political. It's the same. So when you look at them, you immediately recognize how different they are, how specific they are, and what you could get out of them. And I'll tell you in practical terms, if you could define clearly what organization is about, its performance, you could help to increase in performance by about 60%. Don't get me wrong, I came from the fishing industry, where no reports are important. People looking at the real terms. If you have something, you sell something, that's you to know that's what you could make.
Right.
You can't fake a report in a fishing industry. If you have 1,000 tons of fish in a stock, that's it. It is 1,000 tons of fish. You can't massage it to make it 5,000.
Right.
No chance.
What is less? I never put it in the context that the companies are reflections of ourselves, right? I mean that I think that's kind of what you just said to me, and that's what I understood. I really, and I think that's really fascinating. And let me ask you this: you've written a lot about, or talked about, the synergy of functions in a company. What does that mean?
It's very simple. If we talk about a human body or any biological creature,
right,
it lives in synergy with own self, in a good extent, right? In organization, it's often very different. For instance, okay, you are saying, okay, sales department, operational department, you should do this and this and this. A response could be very different, or real response. Not a feedback message which says, oh yeah, boss, we'll do our best and we'll just respond immediately. But in fact, no one cares what's been, in real terms. That's a reality. And imagine the same situation, like synergy or metabolism of a human body or any biological body. You're running to catch a train and all of a sudden your legs reporting, no, we're not prepared. Stay.
Mm-hmm.
It won't have happened. So what we're trying to achieve, that synergy, that actual metabolism, when we convert resources by adding value to each resource we received, in that value chain creation. And so we're getting stronger and better instead of, call it, keeping inner vampires that are sucking energy, sucking resources, and giving nothing out in return.
Right. How does culture form, good or bad?
There is always a culture, but as I'm always saying, what culture is, in my definition, it comes as an energy which we all create together. It consists to reach one goal. It consists of our efforts, of our competences, talents, everything that we put together to reach that organizational goal. In a more human way, we could stand next to each other but shout at each other because we can't hear. Our minds, our hearts are not prepared to hear each other.
Right.
But if we feel each other as friends, as real close people, we could be miles away from each other, but we still are in not just correlation. We are lump summing each other.
Right. We understand each other. It's like old friends, right? When you see them, you don't need to catch up. I mean, it's like you never stop talking.
Exactly. And the reason why we talk a lot, because we are covering our affairs of somebody not understanding what we want, really. We're just dressing meanings with a lot of words. We're hiding behind them.
Right.
And that ruins a culture immediately. And plus, of course, formal approach, no respect to people and their values or their desires. It kills everything, It's too fragile. It's too gentle. It's very capricious. Culture is very capricious woman. If you're not paying attention to her, she will pay you with revenge of being negative. So your results are immediately negative or not as high as expected.
Let me ask you this. So if a lot of companies, I think I found in my coaching, don't pay as much attention to culture as they should. And I'm always kind of perplexed by that because, as you said, you get culture one way or the other. You get culture whether you work on it or you don't work on it. And to me, it's such a valuable part. I know that in my first company, I don't think we paid enough attention. I think we got lucky with the culture that we developed or that developed. I think we got very lucky because of the people in the company and their personalities and they fit. So everything sort of worked out. But I think if you'd asked me 15 years ago what culture was, I probably would have struggled to ask you or to tell you what that really meant. But I see it now as such a critical element to a company's success or failure. And I wonder in your process, I mean, you've been doing this for 25 years. Why do companies not pay attention to it?
You ignoring or trying to avoid something that you can't manage. You don't know how to do it. So you're just simply saying, no, it's not for me. Look, if I can't, I don't have any capacity or capabilities to fly a jet.
Right.
I'm saying, sorry guys, I'm just a passenger. Whatever happens in the cockpit, it's none of my deal, none of my business. And so what today leaders do, they are saying, oh yeah, culture is important, but in reality, I don't know how to handle it, how to manage it. So I would leave it to somebody else who actually is not responsible for it. That's a leader's duty to take care of it. It's one thing. Another thing is, managing culture is a daily work, and it's not as simple, but you must do it. And so hiding behind the reports in different meetings is much easier instead of putting a real effort into culture development.
Because that requires you to talk to people.
To understand them. Yeah, you need to find a time for them and put your mind and heart into them. And also another thing is, we are facing, I believe, a very tough situation where leaders or bosses declaring interest or effort in vertical commas that they are taking care of culture, but actually not. Otherwise, we will be rocketing up all the businesses. But in reality, a tiny percentage of companies in the world are really taking care of culture. They really do something in a good way, not in a good way, professionally or not as professionally, but do something. If you think for a moment how many companies we could write down their names that really take care of culture, and you will be surprised, not many. Maybe just like 1 or 2 pages. And we all quoting them when we do keynote speaking and stuff like that. Because I seen the cases when the people shout around, we are great in culture. If you have a strong personality, would you be shouting about it? No. You would be just doing these things. And you will see people happy in the companies and not leaving them within 3 months' time.
Yeah.
So reality is very different to what we are in a rush to declare, because we want to attract investors. We want to attract. We're telling customers we got a great culture, and the customers coming in facing is just like nasty situation, turning around, next bunch coming in, and again and again and again. So it's still a lot to do. It's still a lot to do. That's a sad reality.
What are some things that you can do as a leader then to start the process or get in the habit of working on your culture? I think you hit on it just a minute ago. It's taking the time and the focus and being, I guess, truly present and engaged. But what does it look like? I mean, what can I do as a leader if I'm thinking, okay, I'm listening to this, I truly have ignored my culture, I need to start figuring out what I can do better to make it better. What does that look like practically?
I had a chat another day with CEO of my client, consultancy client. I had a chat with him. I was interviewing and diagnosing culture in the company.
Mm-hmm.
Not advanced company, no problem, but not a strong culture. I would call it fragmented. Not negative yet, but already fragmented. And I've been talking to him. I said, how much time do you really talk to your people? I'm very busy. I don't have time to talk with them. Okay. I said, look, it's a Christmas coming, and all your staff will get gifts, like Christmas gifts from the company. You are the same employee of that company. Would you like to get such gift and a warm attention from a company because you're putting all your time into this business?
Right.
And this guy almost burst into tears. I say, now think for a moment what your employees feel being treated like that. Giving a gift without smile, giving something which is not as valuable to them, not in terms of money, but in terms of attention, because Christmas, it's not a matter of how expensive the gift is, it's how touchy this gift is. So you are the first victim of your bad approach. And here comes an issue of leadership. If you can't understand yourself, what's going on in you, how you can understand other people? And it was really good experience for this guy.
I imagine. I imagine it was very eye-opening. I mean, that's a great way to put that in perspective.
Yeah, And so if leader could find a time to talk with people, you can't talk if you have a company of like few thousand people working for you. You can't talk to everyone, but at least people need to see your presence with them, not around them, but with them.
You know, I interviewed a guy a couple of months ago, and I thought this was a brilliant culture thing that he did. He said, you know, I have to eat lunch, right? We all have to eat lunch. We have to take 30 minutes in the day to get some nourishment. He said, you know, why do I have to do that alone every day? And he said, you know, at least 2 to 3 times a week, what he does is he invites some, and I think he has 200 or 300 employees. And he said, you know, a couple times a week, I invite people to lunch with me. And cool. I make it clear to all my managers that I'm not trying to subvert their authority. I'm not trying to go around them, but that I want to get to know my people, and I want to get to know who's working there. I want to get to know them personally. I want to get to know about their lives. And he said, you know, it's, for me, I learned so much about what's going on in my own company, you know, and things that we could do better to improve efficiency, production, all of the things that are important as a CEO to be able to do, right? Big problems. And he said, you know, it's just real simple. I asked them, he said, a lot of people bring their lunch. I said, I asked them to bring something to eat, and we sit down and have a brown bag lunch in my office, or we go for a walk, or we go out and sit on a park bench. It's different for me every day. Depends on whether I want to get out of the office or not. But he said, you know, a couple times a week, I sit down with my people for 30 minutes and talk about whatever they want to talk about.
Super. That's awesome.
You know, it's just absolutely been transformational.
Absolutely. And even just listening to you, I just thought, I love this old Chinese expression. To become wise, you must walk 10,000 miles and meet 10,000 people.
Like that.
Right? Okay. Right. Then think for a moment on a simple issue. If a CEO of a company of 2,000 people has a great chance to meet 2,000 people over the course and talk with them, and those CEOs who are not using this chance. You brought a case of someone who is really becoming wiser every time talking with his employees, and that's extremely great chance.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it in a context. You over the course of a year, you get to chat with probably 70, 80, 100 people in the company on a real level.
It's one thing. Plus, those people are spreading information that you really care of them.
Absolutely.
That becomes massive power. And also another thing, what I say, when we say problem in business, what problem is? Problem is something that distancing us from customers.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. That's true.
You know,
that's
true.
On. Yep.
So what's a problem in leadership? That's a distance between leader and people. If I'm not talking with people, I'm just only increasing that distance. Yeah. If I do talk with them, if I'm involved in them, I'm closing this gap, and I don't expect much of a problem within the company. Yeah, some frictions, but it's normal. But okay, they are manageable.
Yeah, very.
They don't need special, treatments.
Yeah,
and that's a synergy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good leadership. Don't make problems with your people yourself, but home cooked problems.
What is an organizational metabolism? What is that?
How much of value each department or each unit or each branch or each whatever or each employee adds to the company. It's nothing to do with the owner situation this is not related to our department. No, everything related to everyone, because we're getting the final product which we sell to customer, which is not just wrapped, but it consists of care. What I'm Rolex watch, we know it has excellent tangible value because it's a good quality, and quality is in every detail. It's nothing like, okay, we have been doing just a glass. This looks okay, but altogether it looks ugly. No, Rolex is perfect in this sense. Is it delivered and has like extended warranty? Yes. And do I feel care and the value is not decreasing, but actually might be even increasing with the years? Yes. So this is something which people feel just looking at it.
Yeah.
In one of my on Leaderology, actually, I just brought an example because I'm very keen salmon fly fisherman, and I got experience when my sage rod was broken, in like at the beginning of a season, and this is catastrophic thing for any fly fisherman. Just like, well, what?
Right.
I lost everything. I lost the largest fish. Just like, oh. And the guys from Sage fix it in very quick term. I just send them it's for a fix because it has lifetime warranty. And I talked with the guy. I said, you have done fantastic. And I said, look, because we're fishermen, we care of these things. We know what is on. So their logistics, their repairing shop, all of them took care as one unit. And they received it just without even thinking that something can be wrong. So every person added value.
Right.
Every unit added value. Can you go into the bank, or what happens? You go to the bank, a bank, and the cashier would tell you, real case, famous British bank. People have difficulty understanding what does it mean. Telegraphic transfer. They're just like saying, okay, we don't do this. How you don't do this? They call it manager. Oh no, that's new guys that don't know. So they're not even just bothered to train each other to the good extent. LC. So more or less those days, if you chat with people about LC, they just would be just turning blank. They would be running to another department. So it will take few days for you to get a feedback. Would it help? No. So they more or less, they're just like broken into pieces. When they're broken into pieces, they're not adding value to each other.
It's funny. I now that I've been coaching for a while and I've run businesses, you're absolutely right about that, because you can see a company when it's not functioning at that in sync, or it's each unit it is there's when things are one, you can tell when it's really well managed. When it's broken into segments, or when it's not managed well, you can clearly see how the breakdowns are, and that's interesting that you put it in that way. What does leaderology mean? Where did the title for the book come?
The title came just came.
I love that. I never heard that term before, so I like that.
I found later that people just use it, but it just came. But I was looking for a term to name a new stage in leadership and management, because what happens? We are very good. We love our old mistakes. Like hamsters in a wheel, we're repeating the same mistakes old mistakes again and again and again. However, we're just breaking into a new reality. We need to think of a system. It's one approach. Then I looked, okay, am I right? No, I should look differently. Then I've been looking around, okay, you and me, we are leaders. Okay, cool. It's just, call it title or rank or obligation or duty. Then what is it, leadership? Leadership is a function. It's a function of growing people, managing things for good, something like that. Okay, but what is all about? Because it's a system. That means that system should have a name. Therefore, I came with this term leaderology as a system which is based on leader serendipity to find the best solution based on knowledge of people, knowledge of or art of management. So it's all wrapped together to deliver value to people. Actually, when I do coaching, I ask people, one of the first questions I ask them, can you tell me what kind of value you brought to your people over the last week?
Wow.
No, not just I've been leading them. No. What kind of value?
That's a tough question.
It sounds simple, but you're casting immediately to the spot. And it triggers all these processes, how I'm good and to what extent I'm good. It's not a question to ask all the people, but those who are really willing to change.
Well, I mean,
it's a question for them.
Boy, it's thought provoking, right? I mean, it kind of puts you on the spot to, and I bet sometimes people don't like the answers that they come up with.
Yes, but as I said, those who are really prepared to change. You see, as Marshall Goldsmith said, look, I'm helping successful people to become more successful. And I really admire this. I'm really big fan of this approach because that makes a difference. Those who are not prepared to do something, the way you please them, it wouldn't help.
Right.
It wouldn't help anyone.
Right. No, that's right. That's I agree with you on that 100%. What are the common, when you talk about this new leadership, and you're talking about bringing us closer, ultimately bringing us closer to our customer and our clients. What are some of those mistakes or common mistakes that you see businesses making that put that distance between them and the customer and that jeopardize the business? I mean, they often jeopardize, those mistakes are that sort of jeopardize the business ultimately.
The most critical, they don't have any vision for people.
Okay.
And so they're having a blind eye for themselves. Actually, I believe that not all businesses should be founded or established initially because they're just existing on a market, mainly not for a long while, because they're being created without any feel or thinking about the people. So if people are not in your vision and you're focusing only on a product, it's not good. It's like this in this famous cartoon, Ice Age, where the squirrel with his acorn, just running around and
Right.
getting in all sorts of trouble and causing all these, cracks and dangerous situation. Another thing is, I'm really puzzled with one thing. When people are in the offices, they forgot that they're customers as well. Because when they're in office, they pretend that they're clever, they know everything, and they could turn customers in a way they want. But after 5 o'clock, they're coming back and they're going to a shop or to a dentist or to the bank or just like to the garage, and they're becoming customers. And then start shouting, "No, I'm a customer, and you should treat me differently." Then another issue, they forget that people around them, they are customers. They're treating colleagues as enemies. They're treating leaders as someone from whom they prefer to hide from. There are so a number of issues. What I have found, for instance, we talk daily about vision, importance of vision. How much do we know about it? We just say vision is important. Cool. What's that? What stands behind vision? And therefore, it pushed me to research deeper into this. So I came up with 6 criteria of vision, of strong, scalable vision, where you could talk, okay, that's a stimulus, which is a main purpose of leadership. Acting for people, acting together with people, and acting for their needs. You can't avoid it, because those organizations that don't have people as their core are bounded to collapse. Not just fail, but just like
implode.
Boom. We're talking about a scale. Scale, it's not only size, which people assume that scale is mainly a size, but scale also in depth of relationships. Like, for instance, you're talking with your friend and you're saying, okay, a scale of our relations is much deeper at the moment. Oh, it's grown bigger, right, because we understand each other better. How much do we understand, even using with all this big data and small data, how much do we gain or enhance our understanding of customers? Actually, not much, except we are knowing customers with different surveys. Meaningless surveys. I called today one of these commercial estate agents and asked them I need to run some kind of a office for seminar. First thing I got this automated voice saying, okay, our conversation will be recorded. Okay, no problem. This automated voice, we all know that that's normal. And then this girl picks up the phone and says, okay, my name is Christine. Do you know that our conversation will be recorded? Why do you know this? And later she came up, no, we don't do these things on weekends. And the main core message is, this is our rules. So they forget that they're customers. They're not scaling themselves towards customers.
Right.
They would buy more properties or, just like sports. Are they really scalable? No. They're just getting fat, obsessive, non-lean. No, whatever you want to call them. We have a spotlight, which is a responsibility, because if you're not responsible and accountable for what you do, why you are here in the first place on the market? You're troubling people.
Yeah.
You're employing people without any responsibility that you will be boosted within a year and people will be forced to find another job.
Yeah, I mean,
it's simple. You should scan environment. You should see how things are changing, not only in the way you want, but how it happens in reality. It must be simple for people to understand, because, as I'm saying, vision is an elegant thinking about complex things. Now we are facing situation, okay, IT or software producers, they are really clever. they could do any kind of a program for you. Just touch this button, push this button, just things like that. Instead of making it simple, they're making it more complicated. It's not their fault. It's a fault of leaders who can't clearly define a simple task, what they want to do.
Right, and how their people fit into that.
Absolutely.
I'm one of the things I see a lot of is, I'll work with the CEO, but I'll be talking to people within the company, and it's amazing how people know what the vision statement is, but they don't know how it applies to them, and they don't know how, because the vision is probably sitting on the wall somewhere, in a conference room or somewhere, right? And the CEO thinks, well,
nice to have on a wall.
Right. Everybody knows what the vision is. I've been very clear about that. But if I don't know at the individual level, when I'm sitting in that cubicle, if I don't know how that vision applies to me and where I fit into that,
no chance. That's it. And probably a last but not least thing is passion and excitement. If you're really passionate about what you do, how you take care of people, how you take care of their tomorrow, and you're excited about it because you see, yes, it's great. That's really great. But if you just think, yeah, we'll get a nice report for this.
Right.
Very different.
I like that word excitement. People talk about motivation and all that other stuff. I like excitement. Excitement.
Actually, what motivation is? I could motivate you to do something which is still in your reflexes, to do something now. Okay, right. I could motivate you to go to a gym, and you will do it maybe a couple of times, and then you'll say, oh, can you motivate me again? Because I'm not actually inspired to do this. I don't see a need for this. And so I need a motivation again and again and again and again. So for every employee, you need to have one extra. I need to employ an extra motivator.
Right.
No, it doesn't work.
No. What are some recommendations that you have for helping increase performance?
You need to know who you are as a business. Because if you don't know who you are, you will be lost. From scratching a surface, hospitals, or clinics, they often consider themselves as a service organizations. Therefore, they're not exploring the actual value of their medical consultants, who are knowledge generators or knowledge carriers, which is their main resource, for instance. And so they're selling themselves low. Not only in terms of money, and not I'm talking about a bill, but I'm talking about what they're delivering to people. If they consider themselves as service organization, then okay, guys, you shoe repairing shop. I don't know, you're plumbers. You just fix this thing and go on. You don't need much knowledge to such extent. You're actually playing low. You're not playing it to the full extent. It's a first thing as an organization. And why customers pay, for what customers paying you money? Why they came through your door? Did they came for service, or did they came for your expertise in something?
Right.
It's one thing. Another thing, of course, you need to take care of people, because people adding value. Organization as such is only a legal entity. People making organization live and real. And so they need to be part of this live body, not just integral part, but it's fully infused part.
Right.
And leadership in this sense is something that really adds even extra value to it, because you allow people to grow. As I'm always saying, leaders are paid to grow people. That's the difference. Because imagine, for instance, the guy who is managing, again, real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the year, he said, look, I increased the value of the company. Actually, that's crap, because it's a market defines what's the value of this house or this commercial building. It wouldn't put much,
Right.
But what you could do, you could add value to people who would make a difference for clients, for customers, for patients, and that would be very different. And then we're just facing altogether turning towards customer.
Right.
I would be looking at that way, at least. That would make it, and this called productive ecosystem.
What's the best advice that you ever got, and who gave it to you?
I'm still of a great impression, and I'm reusing it every time. Start learning again as a child when you're approaching every new project, every new phase of business. Learn again as a child. As you know nothing. Yes, you have something as your back experience, as your background, as your everything, but how it is relative to the new conditions. How you reposition, or say, call it reinventing yourself every time you do something new.
I like that. No, I think that's smart. And
and stay positive.
No, I like that a lot. I was thinking about it because it reminded me of an article I wrote on that years ago about the child mindset, right? And having that thinking about that with every problem and every issue that comes in the business, getting rid of all that. Whether this is the way we do it or this is the way we've done it in the past, and get rid of that thinking and replace it with that childlike approach, or mindset to a problem or a new issue. But anyway, there's a term for it, and I can't think of the term for it. I'm blanking on that. But thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people get Leaderology?
Oh, Leaderology is available on Amazon, on Books A Million, on 800 CEOs, quite a number of resources. I could see that it's in different countries, different resources, platforms. It's available in Kindle, in paperback, in audio, so they could get it quite easy.
Wonderful.
That's a few buttons.
And we'll put a link. We'll put a link on the page, so people can get straight to it and get the book, because I think it's a critical book for anybody that's leading an organization and in this sort of this new age that we're in. And thank you for spending some time with us on your lunch hour. I know in Moscow, where Dr. Oleg is, it's late evening, but if you're on the West Coast, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Same with you here. If you're on the East Coast, thanks for spending your lunch hour or so with us. And you can look at the upcoming schedule at powerlunch.live. And we're going to take a break. Coming up next week, we're going to be out until January the 6th. We've done, I think, over 110 shows this year. So we're going to take a little holiday and take a breather and get pumped up and ready for our schedule in January, which is already filling up. But we've got a couple of shows left this week. So do listen in and look at the schedule coming up. And thank you for sharing some time with us. Dr. Oleg, thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you very much, Rhett. It's a great honor. Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you in January at the MG100 event. Crossing my fingers that you come. And
I do as well, because I'm really eager to go. Thank you.
Anyway, we'll see you then, and hopefully, everybody take care. We'll see you tomorrow.